Let me tell you a secret. Okay. I'm a photographer and I actually at the moment really do not feel like taking any photos. And that's a problem because if that's what you do, you're meant to like it at least most of the time. But I've just been really super uninspired. I don't feel like picking up the camera. Yes, so I thought today I make more like a kind of informal video, more like a cozy coffee chat. It's my coffee. And I'm gonna share some strategies how to find your motivation again. Because I've had this problem before many times. This is, I think, pretty normal when you do something creative. And I know technically how to get out of this slump. And yeah, so I'm gonna share my favorite tips for how to find your passion or your creative motivation again. And then of course I'm also going to apply these strategies to myself because I need to find my photography mojo again, urgently. So actually for me, one of the first things I like doing when I feel really uninspired, and that's also something I'm gonna do now because I really need it, is to just book a short course. And of course that could be in person, which is great because then you actually meet new people and that can also be very inspiring in itself. But short courses in person can be expensive, or maybe you don't live in an area where you can do that. So what I like to do is to book an online course, and I'm gonna link some online course platforms in the description. These are amazing because the courses, they cost like, I don't know, £10 or something, like $15, and they are proper fully formed, complete courses. For example, I've done things like Photoshop editing, drawing, making dolls, all kinds of weird stuff, and I just find them super inspiring. My favorite platform is Domestika and what's the other one? Creative Life. I love both of those. So as I said, I'll link those below, have a look. The last time I was super uninspired in terms of photography, I took a course at Domestika, which was kind of like hybrid photography methods, like experimenting basically, like printing out your photo, spilling coffee on it to create interesting stains, or putting your photo in the freezer, for example, to create like an icy texture and all kinds of weird stuff like that. And because I hadn't done something like that before, it really gave me some new, motivation, and that was really great. So yeah, if you want to try this method, I recommend you pick something that's maybe very different from your usual style, so you get a sort of, new ideas, new concepts. I don't know, if you always take street photography photos, for example, don't do a street photography course, rather do like a portrait course or something, just to get, a bit of new input. Yeah, and then my next tip, again, I should listen to myself as well right now, is to go, I would call this, go on an art retreat. So basically, I don't mean book a holiday or something, but take a few hours or even a day if you can, and just expose yourself to art. Go to the museum, easy, go to an exhibition. It's even enough sometimes to just get a nice coffee table book and actually look through it. You can get it, in a thrift store, on a junk shop. What is it called? A charity shop here in England. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just get some nice illustrated photography or art book and have a look through it. And actually, it doesn't even have to be art in that sense. You could just go for a really long walk in a new area you don't know and take photos of, tiles or window frames or anything that is in any way beautiful to you. And that stuff, it just works because you get new ideas. Again, it's about new, it's always like you want to expose your brain to new stuff that gives you new ideas. And I think it also works because you consciously taking time off from your everyday stuff to do that. And free time leads to more creative juices flowing, so I highly recommend that. And I'm gonna do it myself. My next tip is to, another favorite of mine, I do it a lot, is to create limitations. I understand that's a bit paradoxical, yeah? Because you think, well, I want to be inspired, I will need lots of ideas, I can't restrict myself even more, then I'd be even more, stifled. But actually it really works, because let's say you like taking photos. So you're gonna decide, I am only going to take photos with a 50mm lens, or I'm only going to use a very slow shutter speed, or I'm only going to use a film camera. It's a good one. For example, I created a limitation this week for myself to create a self-portrait with this camera, which is ridiculously small and cute. So I bought that in Japan last year, and it's so cute, and it's not a great camera. It has 1.3 megapixels, but I thought it would be fun just if I have it's like a task, I'm gonna give myself the project, take a photo with this camera only. And suddenly I'm kind of inspired because it's such a weird task, it's such a weird project to do, so ridiculous in a way, that it makes me feel relieved because I don't need to think, oh, I could go outside, I could take landscape photos, I could take my 10 lenses out. No. I take my one camera, I take self-portrait, that's the other limitation, with this tiny camera. That's it. So yeah, I find this one really helps. Another thing you could restrict yourself to is a location. You know, for example, take photos only in your bedroom, in your bathtub, whatever. You could pick one subject and create a whole series around only that, like, I don't know, flowers, patterns, things like that. Another nice one you can do that also works for drawings actually, is to create some kind of time limitation. For example, 30 drawings in 30 days, 30 photos in 1 hour, you know, going on a walk, that kind of stuff. So yeah, super great strategy. I like it a lot. Okay, and then the next tip to get motivated again in your creative stuff is to change up your style. That's a little bit connected to the first tip I gave you with the courses. I'll give you an example. So when I first started taking self-portraits, they were very painterly, yeah, so very artistic. I would copy poses from paintings, from classical paintings, and I would add textures in Photoshop and edit the photos to look really painterly. And I loved that, that was great. But then, you know, because it was a very specific style, after a while the photos started to look a bit samey, and I got a bit bored of it, basically. Then I found another style, which I'm kind of been using since then, which is a bit more, I don't know, clean, editorial perhaps, something like that. But now I'm getting a bit bored of that, which is why I'm making this video to motivate myself as well. And yeah, so I think it's time to switch up my style a little bit. I think I might experiment with flash, like direct flash, which I think is really cool. If you need a bit of input for what you could do, you know, go on Instagram or something, or just do a Google search of famous photographers, famous artists that you find inspiring, and seek out specific elements in their style that you would like to emulate. I don't know, for example, shooting black and white, or using a super wide angle lens, or whatever. Just pick an element that you want to sort of copy. Obviously not copying their work, you're just copying that style, and then give it a go. And I think that can sometimes be a bit daunting because it's not something you've done before, so you're not used to it, and it feels like, oh, you know, that's not my style. It feels a bit uncomfortable, but that's why it's so good, I think, because it gets you out of your rut. And motivation comes from newness, I believe, and not being stuck in the same pattern. Next one, this is also something I've done the last week, is to change medium. So if you're a photographer, put the camera away. First of all, it works because you're gonna start missing your tool eventually. But also it works because you get some fresh ideas again. So for example, yeah, put your camera away. I started then making a little doll, or just sewing again, which I really love. And it's like, I don't have to take a photo, yay, you know, you feel a certain relief that you don't have to constantly do the same thing, and you're allowed to try a different medium, because you are a free person, you can do what you want. You know, I think almost every artist actually knows that kind of routine feeling, that it's like it's becoming boring because you're doing something all the time. It's like stale. So if you change medium, you're automatically bringing some fresh air into your creative space. You know, you could try sculpture, drawing, printmaking, knitting, crochet, like whatever comes to mind that you've always wanted to try, or that you used to do as a child maybe. Just do that for a week or two and see how that feels. I really like this method because basically you're not giving up your creativity. You're still being creative, you're still making stuff. It's just with a different tool. And you know, it's a bit like being in a romantic relationship or something. You don't want to see them every hour of every day. You need a bit of distance sometimes to create eagerness again. So see it like that with your camera. Take a little break from your camera to start to love it again, basically. The next thing you could do to feel motivated again is to teach someone. So, for example, a couple years back, I was super bored of my camera. I just felt unmotivated, a bit like now. And then I met this friend for coffee, and they were starting to get a bit interested in photography, and they asked me some questions, you know, how do you, like technical questions, how do you focus on stuff, how do you do nighttime photography, I don't know, how do you compose a photo, that kind of stuff. And I got really inspired actually just telling them or giving them some tips, because it reminded me, you know, how I used to be. The way that person was asking questions, and they were so so eager to learn, and they had this like little fire in their eyes. Anyway, you know what I mean. They were just really excited. And seeing that, I was like, oh yeah, I used to be excited about photography. I need to get back to that. Yeah, and that can be really effective. So if there's anyone in your family, in your friendship group that wants to learn about photography, give them, you know, half an hour workshop or something. Or if you're not a photographer, then, you know, give them a drawing workshop or anything. Just to remind yourself of what it's like to be a beginner in something and to want to learn. Then another way you can really get your motivation back, I think, is to invest in a new piece of kit. So I don't mean buy a 2,000 pound camera. I mean buy something small that is fun, you know, that will bring the fun back into it. For example, buy a soft focus filter. That's what I got about a year ago. That made me really excited. You know, they cost 10 pounds or whatever, and they create this really soft, dreamy glow in your photos, and that gave me a whole new like lease of life. I was like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. I researched all these Hollywood photos that were taken with soft focus sort of filters. I made a whole Pinterest mood board, and suddenly I was inspired again. So do that. You could, if you take photos with your phone, another fun thing you could get is little lens attachments. They're quite cheap, but you just clip them onto your phone lens, and then you get like a fisheye effect or a wide angle lens, all that stuff. I'm gonna link them below actually. So that could be fun. Or get maybe a really cheap film camera, you know, like a disposable camera even. Just something that's new and fresh and interesting that you haven't used before. The next thing you could do, this is a good one as well because it's so easy, is to get a book that will give you a project. You know, I like projects, as you can tell. Yeah, because it's a bit like a teacher telling you, now go do this. And then you, I don't know why, it's this limitation thing or something. You just get really motivated again because, oh, suddenly I have to do this. Okay, fine. So I'm gonna link some books below. For example, one of them is called, I think, The Photographer's Playbook. Then the other one is called The Photography Ideas Book or something. And they just give you certain, you know, frameworks or ideas, projects for what you could do. And you can work through them chronologically, or you can, I like doing, you know, you just open the page, put your finger on one thing and do that. No excuse, no resistance. And yeah, it's just nice because you don't have to think about what you're going to do. You just use the book as a springboard for your ideas, and then off you go. So yeah, have a look at the books below and see if that helps you. And then the last thing you can do, which can be so motivating, you might already be doing it actually, is to join a community of sorts. So that could be an online community. For example, I'm part of this female photographer community called She Clicks. Again, I'm going to link that in the description. And they have a blog and they have a Facebook group, and and have meetups actually. So that's already really motivating, I think, because it makes you feel like you're part of a group and they give you ideas, and it's just nice to be part of a community. Another option is to take parts in events. You know, I'm sure you know the website meetup.com. And if you just type in, for example, photography walk and your location or your city, you're gonna get lots of meetups of, you know, essentially random people, but they all like photography. And if you just join one of those, you can find great new friends and just, again, get a bit inspired by, yeah, whatever they're doing. And you can talk about photography, you can remember again why you liked it in the first place, and it can be so fun. Now, if you're still watching, that's very nice. I'm glad you're still here. And I just want to say one last thing, which is that if you are somebody who likes taking self-portraits and you need an idea, I actually have written an ebook which is free. I'm going to link it below, and you can download it on my website, and it has 50 ideas for self-portraits. Again, I could actually take a leaf out of my own book and have a look in there to get inspired. But yeah, I put it together especially for people who, you know, are lacking motivation or need some fresh ideas. So have a look at that, and make sure to subscribe. If you're still here, support me, and I see you in the next video. Bye!